¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. Howdy, howdy. Hey, Astro, how's it going? We have a gray, cool 7 degrees Celsius and a damp day. Okay, that's nothing, nothing uncommon for London, I suspect. Well, we do definitely have quite the ground to cover when it comes to the newly released Working Group 3 regarding the IPCC. We still have to finish Working Group 2 summary. Really quick, can you hear me okay? Is it okay? Nothing out of the ordinary? We've been having some problems with this with this microphone. I think I spent almost definitely more than 2 hours. I'm okay with subtitles. I can fix that. I can fix that one very easily. That's a button. But I'm speaking about my my microphone sound. Like, does it sound any different than it's supposed to, or that you remember before? I also noticed subtitles don't work on YouTube chat either. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna do this right here. I can fix the subtitles. I can see it. Okay, good. There we go. Buttons off. Easy peasy. Okay. Yeah, for some reason, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just Windows. Maybe it's just, the software that has to do with the microphone. But, nonetheless, I feel your audio sounds okay. Okay, that's perfect. That's all that matters. We are good. Okay. That's all that matters, folks. As long as we got okay audio, we can deal with the rest. Okay. So really quickly, just getting ourselves situated here. It's just that subtitles compete with the reading chat and it shows laughable speech to text. Yeah, it's an experimental add-on, so I'm just gonna turn it off. With that's an easy one. That's a button. I was just concerned because for some reason, I've just been having like a lot of issues with. I'm going to assume that it has to do with the actual microphone software itself, not the device. But I've just been having some massive, frustrating problems where I would have. Okay, so this is how it's supposed to sound, right? Because I'm looking at the at the little levels, visuals, I guess, where you could see how high or how low the volume is. Well, if I restart my computer, it's just the wildest thing. If I restart my computer, it will not only give me weird settings for presets that I never asked for, but it will have almost in half cut the levels. It's just been like the weirdest thing. I connected to my phone, and it's fine. So I don't know. I think the software is just acting funny. But either way, we fixed it. I think. Oh, that's just my voice. I'm naturally nasally. Okay? That's just me. Maybe I could do some audio magic to make myself less nasally. But that's just me. That's just me. I understand that one. Either way, as long as the audio sounds fine, we're good. Let's continue. Quote offline. What? I'm lost. Never mind, it updated. Oh, okay. Bottom left said on offline. What? Like the Twitch app? That's weird. Your brand of English speaking comes over real well to me. Nice. The clock looking thing. That's so weird. It's been a bizarre... Oh. Oh, okay. The thing... Yeah, that might take a second to update. Well, I appreciate that as an English person. In front of the Among Us and the Yoshi. I love that little thing. My sister actually gave me that Yoshi. It just hides in the ADT mug. Okay. Okay, so I think we got everything good, everything solved. I hope. I hope we got everything solved. It seems like we did, so you know what? We'll just call it. Alright folks, we do have plenty of stuff to go through. Man, many Americans make a real mess of English speaking. That's true. You can't mess with the Queen's you can't mess with the Queen's English, right? Is that it? Alright. Enough of the memes. We've got plenty of ground to cover. Alright, so briefly, the Biden administration is expected to announce an extension on the federal student loan payment pause on Wednesday, according to the administration official familiar with White House decision-making, a move that would delay the repayment of student loans, until August 31st. The payment pause was previously slated to end May 1st. So they gave 3 months, I guess? May... wait, I can't... Okay, hold on. May... June, July. So about 3 months, right? About 3-4 months. Roughly 30. Roughly 37 million student loan borrowers have been in limbo for several months over whether the payment pause would be extended. For many, it would have been the first time they would have had to start making student loan payments since the pause began at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. Yeah, I mean, like... if you can delay these student payments continuously, then couldn't we start making like arguments for just starting to eliminate student debt? I mean, like, just think about how much relief that would be, especially in this economy where there is massive inflation. Cost of living is cost of living is incredibly high. Wages aren't really rising enough to keep up with inflation or cost of living, barely. Most people need to work more than one job. Most people are scraping by paycheck to paycheck. I think it would be a boom, a way to provide relief, especially with this, the economic impacts of the coronavirus, to just start eliminating student debt and make it in waves. Just eliminate student debt and give people the chance to breathe. Hey, Phoenix. People that have a master's or bachelor's have a really good chance to earn money. I think student debt relief would help people that already have a good chance at earning money, and we could help other groups of people better. Wait, what? That doesn't always translate though. Like, it's a massive weight on our economy to have these folks be tied down when we could provide relief to tens of millions of people, right? I mean, like, I don't see why this would be a bad idea. Furthermore, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? Like, we can deploy resources to help other groups of people too. It's not like we don't have the resources. It's not one or the other, We can technically do both. If we really wanted to, and we really had the will, we could do both. We could alleviate student debt, and we could deploy resources to help other groups of people. When I was visiting the USA, many folks I met were intrigued with my precise English speaking. They kept asking me to talk to them. Yeah, for some reason, like, Americans have this weird, I don't want to say obsession, but fascination, especially if you have like an English accent or speak in that way. Absolutely. 100% I agree, Astro. It's just weird. And the funny part is, I come from, South Florida, where we have a, to say the least, unique accent. Every state or every section of the country does have its own accent, okay? I just think it's really a what? Stance? Many students with master's and bachelor's degrees don't need more help. That is just not the case. That is just not the case. So, the person who's going to be treading water in perpetuity for student loans because they did the right thing and tried to get a higher education don't need help? And furthermore, getting a degree, even a master's degree, doesn't automatically translate into a job, right? Doesn't translate into a job that pays, that makes it worth having that much amount of debt. I don't understand. This is so divorced from reality. You getting a master's degree or even a bachelor's degree doesn't come with an automatic job. And furthermore, even if you do get a job, a lot of the times it doesn't the wages don't justify it. Many master's degree don't have much income. Just look at teachers and social workers. Right, exactly. Like this is not really grounded in reality. Master's degree unemployed as it should. Yeah, I mean, like, read a paper on income that compares master's versus no degree. Well, yeah, if you have a master's degree, you are going to make more money than someone who doesn't have a degree. That's not the argument. The argument is the folks who do end up getting, who do end up going to get higher education are coming out of this in basically in a hamster wheel and stuck in perpetuity. In debt that sometimes could be hundreds of thousands. And people that don't have degrees need way more help than people that already have such a high income. You're assuming that these folks already have high incomes. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. You're putting your bet on, quote, future earnings that don't always materialize, if so. And furthermore, I agree with you. There are people who need more help. Sure, but we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. I mean, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't understand why it has to be an either or statement. Hey, Thindare, what are we talking about? Student debt. True, everyone be needing help right now. That's right. That's a good point. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't have to be an either or statement. It can be both. You can deploy resources to help other groups of people. That's not an issue. Keep pulling down students and see how society fares when those folks get to adulthood full of debt. Yeah, like I said, it's just an economically sound choice, in my opinion. I mean, I don't get it. It's if we can provide. That's really creepy. Anyways, if we can provide a way to give people a boost economically, tens of millions of them, I think we should. We don't have unlimited resources due to such a luxus. What? In comparison to so many issues that need help? What? We don't have unlimited resources? What? Can you explain to me then why are we spending consistently more and more money on the military budget? Tens of billions of dollars? What? Why is that that's such a weird argument? Do they put interest on student debts? Yes, they do. It's predatory AF. Hey, spread it forward. One of my debts is 6.5%. That is unbelievable to me. That is wild. That is a huge interest rate. Still worth it? Still worth what? The military budget? Really? What? This is just not in grounded in reality. Sorry. If I start paying it back and don't earn enough, then the interest outpaces my repayment, so I'll be in debt in perpetuity. Right, which is what I was talking about. It doesn't matter if you have a fancy master's degree or a bachelor's degree. The point being is that it is a weight on the economy. It makes absolutely no it doesn't make it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what matters what matters is what economic opportunities you can give people. Now, the student debt is worth it for me. If I didn't have the chance, I wouldn't earn as much as I do now. Yeah, cool. That's you, but that's not always the case. That's the point. Your case study is an anecdotal account of how things should work. But you know what? For a good chunk of people, it doesn't work that way. For a good chunk of people, it doesn't work that way. It's true that on average, people with master's degrees are earning more. Yeah, but what does that mean, on average? What does that mean? Like, oh, instead of minimum wage, you get like, what? You make more than minimum wage? I don't understand why that shouldn't be the case, though. They spent an entire year on that. Yeah, like the point isn't that they earn more, right? The point is at what threshold does a potential hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of debt uh, become worth it? Because I don't have debt. I don't have student debt. I don't have student debt. If you actually read papers and have a look at numbers, you would see that the majority profits. Maybe. My argument is that it is an undue it is an undue burden that doesn't necessarily need to be there, right? Why not just give the opportunity for folks to earn more? Just make it so. Literally every other developed country has figured this out. Yeah, exactly. That country doesn't the country that doesn't fund further higher education. True. But reading papers isn't a lefty thing to do. Oh no, we've got a live one, chat. We've got a live one. Just repeating student debt is bad is enough. What? Yes. Well, student debt is bad. What? I don't understand. Reading is a right-wing thing. True. Yeah. Correct. Hey, spread it forward. Yes. Because the lefty thing to do is just not read. We've got a live one today, chat. He's right, brother. I'm not a lefty and I read all the time. Damn, Mono coming in hot with the truth bombs. Damn, I'm wrong. This person thinks that the left is the low intelligence party. Well, the quote left isn't a party at all. It's destroyed. Nah, like I don't understand. What does that have to do with anything? The left wing and the right wing, I am the head. True. I am not a lefty and I read all the time. Damn. Anyways, the point being is that despite your wild what is it? Would it be a red herring? I don't know. Despite your leap in logic thinking that the left doesn't read, the fact still stands that student debt is an undue burden on the economy. We should do something about that. There would be a multitude of positives, economically speaking, if we relieve student debt. Think of it as a tax on earnings. Yeah. I refuse to believe any working class person is truly against canceling student debt. They must not learn. They must not care, want to understand. Well, like the thing is, like, that's not always the case, but like, sometimes it is. Ask us some questions, open-ended answers only, and the chat is the judge. Okay. I'm actually not too. I'm not too versed in nerd culture. The left and right are addicted to fairy tales. It depends on the person, I guess. Crab mentality, belief that we're all not getting effed, and that we have to make sacrifices. Yeah, the counterpoint is that the majority of normal working people don't give an F about lefty brain indoctrinated middle class students. What? We have to make sacrifices. The entitled students should stop whining. Yeah, listen. Students should just be students should just stop eating more avocado toast or something. I don't know. I would need to be in the bucket to have a crab mentality. We're all in the bucket. True. Like I don't understand why. Yeah, I don't understand what the net negative would be to alleviating a economic weight. That's my question. Not whether or not having a degree earns you more, because I I can acknowledge that that is the case. I mean, objectively, it is. Why would you want to create a roadblock for people to earn more? I guess I should ask. Why would you want to create more roadblocks for people to earn more? Damn, spread it forward. I'm sorry. I can't think like I know that I have a knowledge. I know that I have a knowledge in like some like maybe comic book uh lore, but I can't think of it off the top of my head to make like a nerd off, to be honest. Because I'm just giving it's not just giving away money. Wait, you're not giving away money. What are you talking about? Because it takes time and money away from helping people who weren't in the position that they could go to college to earn more. Wait, you're losing me, Mono. Because it takes time and money away from helping people who weren't. What? Yeah, because you shouldn't have made them pay in the first place. Right. Like, I don't understand. You're not giving away money. Who do you think owns these student loan debts? Finance companies, predatory lenders? Yeah, paying to earn is a paying to learn is an L. I agree. Pension funds? What? The worst part is they don't have to struggle and we can cancel it, everything would be fine. Right, like no, pension funds. What? No, student loans are given by finance companies. I can argue for student debt forgiveness in this simple way. If the government doesn't need these loans paid back, they print money every day. Okay. But there's working class idiots that don't get it and think it's an entitlement that helps us keep in the spot. Yeah, like I don't understand. Nobody's giving money to any like free money to the students. What? They shouldn't. Yeah, like I agree with Mono's point. They shouldn't be paying in the first place. That's the problem. They're like literally we're the only ones that like make this a big deal. Holy shit. Kind of ridiculous that people have been left in limbo. Admin needs to pull the finger and out and make the call. Who owns these loans? The government subsidizes corporations to help companies have high profits. Education and healthcare should be completely free. Yeah, exactly. The government owns these loans. Put a trailer for an extremely important movie you might have missed? What? Twisted Pair? Ah! For the sake of copyright, I'm gonna watch this on my own. It seems weird. Remember Davos Education, the Davos, who is supposed to pay back student loans for scamming? Yeah, there is student relief for institutions that are that scammed folks. But I honestly, it's just very simple. If you want to create an instant economic boost, you would relieve the weight that is tying down tens of millions of people and allow them to earn their full potential, unleash their full potential. That's it. I don't understand what the negative is. I'm currently going through a formal complaint process and try to recover my money from a university. Good luck. Yeah, she was appointed by Trump. I don't understand. It's just that it's just as simple as the positives of relieving an economic burden is vastly more than the negatives. Anyways, the Biden administration has already extended the federal student loan payment pause several times. More recently, in December, it pushed the deadline back 90 days from the end of January to May, despite claiming earlier when they extended over the summer that it would be the quote final extension. Yeah, they realized that this is becoming an economic problem, so they're kicking the can down the road. This comes as a group of Democratic lawmakers at the end of March, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, Jim Clyburn, sent a letter to the president calling on him to delay the payments, resuming until at least the end of the year, noting it saved borrowers an average of $393 a month during the pandemic. Can you imagine if that just went away permanently? Damn. On average, $393 a month is definitely a breather for sure. That is definitely a breather. That same group of Democratic lawmakers have also called the president to cancel student loan debt. Earlier this month, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klein said that the decision on whether or not there could be for what on whether there could be forgive. Oh, who wrote this? Jesus. On whether there could be forgive student debt through executive action was going to be made before the payments resume, or the president would extend the pause. We recognize that extending the payment pause is important to borrowers struggling to shoulder the harm caused by the pandemic, economic shocks, and inflation. However, President Biden's piecemeal short-term approach is not enough to meet these challenging times. True. The president has an opportunity to pass bold, meaningful relief instead of the band-aid measures. Yeah, well, can't count on that. We urge the president to consider the transformative effect of permanent student debt cancellation would have for individuals, families, and the economy. Well, unfortunately, we can't expect much from Corn Pop over here. The federal student loan payment has already resulted in 195 billion worth of waived payments through this April. Like I said, I mean, clearly, why don't we just, make that forever? There we go. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which had called for the student loan payments to resume, it estimated that extending the pause would cost an additional $50 billion per year. For who? The finance companies? Pfft. While the Biden administration plans to extend the federal student loan payment pause, first reported by Politico, no decision has been announced on canceling student debt. The president has previously said he would like Congress to get involved and suggested canceling $10,000 in student debt, but tackling student loan forgiveness in Congress would face an uphill battle with Republicans opposing the move. Yeah, I mean, in the House, it's not a problem. It's the moment it gets to the Senate, it's just DOA, right? It's just as easy to cancel debt as it is to print money. It's not happening. Hopium paralyzing people still. Not. I'm not expecting them to do it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that. Don't hold your breath. Where the deeply divided Congress may not have the necessary support to pass student loan legislation, an executive order could face legal challenges. Jeez. Yeah, in paper, yeah, obviously you can do that, but all we have room for is malarkey. An executive order could face legal challenges. Student financial expert Mark Kantrowitz has suggested the Biden administration may be able to go through the regulatory process. Income-driven repayment plans are effectively loan forgiveness. They forgive the remaining debt after a number of years in repayment. The problem with that is that the deployment of this part is true that if you do the income-driven repayment after an X amount of years, I believe right now it's 20, they just forgive the rest of the loan. But the problem with that is that they didn't have an effective way of tracking it. So a lot of people, the overwhelming majority of people, never got this. The majority of people never got to see this. It's an easier sell to make money for X, Y, and Z than it is to pay people's debts for them. Yeah, I don't know. It's all just backwards. The priorities are backwards here. Kentritz argued that one of those repayment plans have very broad regulatory authority, and so the administration could create a new loan forgiveness plan and reduce the eligibility thresholds. Ah. I mean, sure, whichever way you want to do it, just do it. While there has not been broad student debt cancellation since taking office, the Biden administration has canceled $17 billion in student loan debt, including debt forgiven for borrowers who were found to be defrauded by schools, as well as public service loan forgiveness, canceling debt for borrowers who are permanently disabled. I mean, like, that's good. Except, like, come on, Jack. Like, so clearly it's possible. Clearly it's possible. These folks absolutely need this. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have happened. These folks absolutely need this. But you're telling me it's possible. So just do it. I don't get it. Just do it. More than 43 million borrowers hold more than 1.6 trillion in student loan debts. Student loan debt is the second largest amount of debt behind mortgages. Oh wow, like credit cards are number 3, I guess now? Nice. Anyways. TLDR, the Biden administration has decided to extend it, but yeah. Really doing the bare minimum here. If that. Meanwhile, New Mexico, leading the way, approves free college tuition for all residents. Nice. New Mexico has passed historic legislation that offers free college tuition for state residents and bordering Native American tribes. This month, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham signed Senate Bill 140, the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship Act, making college tuition free for most New Mexicans and for tribes contiguous to the state. Nice. A fully funded opportunity scholarship opens the door for every New Mexican to reach higher, strengthening our economy, families, and our communities. Signing this legislation sends a clear message to New Mexicans that we believe in them and the contributions they will make for their families and the future of our great state. Nice. She signed the bill March 4th during a ceremony alongside students at Western New Mexico University. SB 140 took an existing free tuition scholarship program for high school graduates and expanded it to any resident seeking higher education and job certification and training. Nice. It is the most wide-reaching tuition-free scholarship program in the U.S. The benefits are huge for New Mexico families and our economy. The free tuition program is available for recent high school graduates, returning adult learners, part-time students, career training certificates, associate and bachelor's degrees, and summer courses. Nice. True. Investing in your community isn't the American way. Freaking handouts. I'm telling you. To qualify, students must be a resident of the state for at least 12 consecutive months, enroll in at least 6 credit hours at a public college or university, and continue to enroll each consecutive semester. Nice. That is pretty cool. Just make an extension of some type of like broad scholarship program to the rest of the state, and make anyone who's a resident there qualify. Easy peasy. Look at that. When political will decides to manifest itself, then all of a sudden, it is quite possible to make something like college, like tuition-free public college, a thing. Amazing. It's almost like if you actually have like your priorities set, then you can absolutely do something good for your constituents. Just saying, it's possible. And they all basically agreed a lot of courses are not anywhere near as costly as universities would like you to believe. Yeah, of course. Of course. If you ask me, a lot of these like tuitions are over bloated because I would almost want to say because of artificial inflation due to, well, partly because they know that the government subsidizes them, so they keep raising tuitions because there are like government grants that give these private universities the tuition money. Social sciences, for all the shit they get for not being, quote, profitable, and Mickey Mouse are practically funding engineering degrees. And you go to engineering science schools and they have 100K last there. Jesus. Anyways, TLDR, if you want to do something, and the political will manifests itself, then it happens. Like, what are you paying for as a social scientist? The library, same price. Yep. Yeah, like these are inflated numbers to say the least. This was a good meme. Alright. We got to talk about this because it, well, keeps happening. ExxonMobil, please tell us. Oklahoma lawmakers yesterday, on Tuesday, passed a bill that would make it illegal to perform an abortion in the state except in medical emergencies, penalizing those who do with up to $100,000 in fines and 10 years in prison. The Republican controlled state of House of Representatives brought the bill to a vote this week after it passed last year by the Midwestern State Senate. It now heads to the desk of Republican Governor Stitt for signing. Benjamin P. Dixon Show, rating with a party of 43. Thank you so much. Howdy, everybody. Good morning. Howdy, howdy. Hey, Felicity, how's it going? Howdy, howdy, everybody. Samurai the Kind Dragon. Howdy, howdy. Folks, if you don't already, please check out the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Twitch.tv/Benjamin P. Dixon. I appreciate that. If you guys have not seen have not seen us before, we are a Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Saturdays for Saturday Catterdays around noon Eastern Time. Make sure you hit that follow button. You get 5 free emotes. It does help us out. I appreciate the raid. Thank you guys. Welcome, everybody. No one mentions Wisconsin. They made teachers, doctors how to do abortions illegal. What? Jeez. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jamtoom. Words are hard this morning. My phone is on revolt. Oh no. It's all good. It's all good. Stein has signaled his support for anti-abortion legislation. If he signs the measure, it would take effect this summer unless blocked by the courts. An abortion ban in Oklahoma would widen a swath of the country where there's little to no legal abortion access. The state has become a destination for Texas women seeking abortions as Texas in September banned abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. These harmful bills are an alarming reminder that days of access to safe and legal abortions may be numbered, and we must continue to fight to guarantee all people have access to essential healthcare that they need, including abortion. True. The measure passed by the Oklahoma House is one of several anti-abortion bills making its way through state legislature. Separate legislation introduced this year proposes banning almost all abortions and relying on private citizens to sue anyone who aids and abets abortion, similar to Texas 6-week abortion ban. That bill contains an emergency clause which would allow it to take effect immediately once passed and signed by the governor. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Pausing hurts, baby Jesus. I love that username. That's a good meme. The measure approved on Tuesday states a person shall not purposely perform or attempt to perform an abortion except to save the life of a pregnant woman in a medical emergency. Huh. Hey, where are the exceptions for, like, rape and incest? That's kind of weird. Why do Republicans always have such a problem when it comes to that? Even as, like, even as the bare necessity, you can't even bring yourself to provide, like, exceptions for, like, rape and incest? That's kind of weird. Isn't that a little bit of a self-report? That it's always such a hassle to even get those um exceptions put in? That's kind of weird. Republican-governed states like Oklahoma have passed a series of restrictive abortion measures in recent years. The U.S. Supreme Court is due to rule by the end of June in a case revolving a Republican-backed Mississippi law that gives its conservative majority a chance to undermine or even repeal Roe v. Wade. During arguments in the case, conservative justices signaled a willingness to dramatically curtail abortion rights in America. Yep, not surprised. Not surprised at all. Not surprised at all. The state of the current Republican Party, folks. Right. Right. 1 in 5 women suffer SA, but no men seem to know. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting. Anyways, this is the Republican Party, folks. This is where the this is the end game. Oh, wow. 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 In April of 2020, Stittle ordered a massive purchase of hydroxychloroquine, a drug unproven efficacy as treatment of COVID, which has been heavily promoted by Trump and his allies. By January of 2021, Oklahoma had 2 million stockpile, which is sought to offload. Oh, man. Yeah. Okay. And this is earlier, last year. 2.2 million. Sorry, 2 million. Nothing to do. Nothing to do with anything in order to treat COVID. But they are willing to spend millions of dollars on nothing, essentially. These are the fiscally responsible people, right? Conservatives claim to be fiscal responsibility, wasting millions of dollars. Damn. It's almost like every time they say something, they actually mean the opposite. Always seems to happen, right? It's like a trend. So this is where we're heading, folks. Guaranteed that more and more states are, more and more red states, conservative states are going to pass legislation like this if the Supreme Court doesn't stop it. Speaking of totally normal, before we get into the good stuff,
You see that Antifa flag? Go knock out their window. That's my
about.
thought. Forgive
See
me,
that?
Lord. Forgive me, Jesus. Lord, forgive me. I'm asking for forgiveness right now. I'm asking for forgiveness
It was
right
just
now.
a thought. It was just a thought.
But I'm saying the Bible says that the kingdom suffers violence. And
yes.
the
what? This is the what? The Christian equivalent of in a video game? Is this the Christian equivalent of in a video game? Okay, buddy. You know, weren't these the people that are the same people that were like, well, I don't like it when I don't like riots because, you know, the left is like the violent people.
violence,
Take it by
force.
By force.
The problem
take
is
it by
we've been
force.
too coward and too weak, and we think that man has authority over us when we serve a big God that's given us power and authority, to tread over every demonic spirit. But so if they're going to knock out a window, you're going to knock out two of theirs.
That's what I'm...
Oh, I see. Retribution. Yes. No, don't just equal their violence. Right? In their perspective. No. Make sure you're more violent. an eye for like 2 eyes is what he's suggesting. An eye for 2 eyes. No, a window for 2 windows. He's not saying just to seek revenge or retribution. No, he's saying to be more violent.
Hey, that's what Jesus said. Go buy 2 swords.
That's what I'm... Come on, brother. Come on, man.
Go buy 2 swords.
So listen, Oregon, y'all better go buy some swords in the name of Jesus, right?
Swords? Nothing out of the ordinary here, folks. Just casual call to violence. He's also a congressional candidate, just saying. Just saying, he's also a congressional candidate for the GOP. Everything they say is usually the exact opposite. Normally, this kind of stuff doesn't need attention. But this isn't some random 4chan poster. This isn't some random 4chan poster. This is an actual Republican GOP congressional candidate urging people, particularly conservative people, Christian fundamentalists, extremists, to not just be violent, but to be twice as violent. And it's A-okay because your political opponents aren't human. Your political opponents are demons that need slaying. Yeah. That's the right wing, folks. That's where it all leads to. Conservatism. Not even once. Not even once, chat. Throughout the years, this has been slowly creeping into the mainstream, and now this kind of rhetoric, now these kind of thinking, these extremists are, well, GOP candidates. for Congress. And absolutely no pushback. None. None whatsoever. So I'm just going to have to assume that the GOP is perfectly fine with it. I'm just going to have to assume that this is the Republican Party. Not a single pushback. Don the armor of God. This is indistinguishable from a Q post. This is indistinguishable from a 4chan Q post. Don the armor of God and wade into a battle against the demonic Antifa hordes. Okay. So, folks, as we discussed earlier, there is the working group 3, which is the third piece of the IPCC report, was released earlier this week. We currently are still on working group 2, technical summary, which we will finish, and then we'll head into working group 3. If you haven't already, check out the link posted in chat. So before we get into that, let's take a look at this, because this is the few articles talking about the IPCC. We'll see how representative it is. World's top climate scientists issue ultimatum on critical temperature limit. To keep the fight to keep global heating under 1.5 has reached now or never territory, according to a new report released on Monday by the world's leading climate scientists. A highly anticipated report due to... Oh wait, I think we didn't read this, actually. Hold on. Yeah, we did read this. Huh. Well, I guess we'll go over a summary then. Hold on, folks. Okay. Nonetheless, it's still worth introing, I guess, as a segue. The highly anticipated report delays slightly due to last-minute disputes over exact wording of the document says curbing global heating of 1.5 above pre-industrial levels would require greenhouse gas emissions to peak before 2025 at the latest. In other words, 3 years from now. No, that's not. Unfortunately, I see no legitimate sense of urgency when it comes to deploying any policy across the board to even move us in that direction. Not a single robust proposal to move us in that direction, unfortunately. Oh yeah, nice meme. 2 days afterwards, because this came out on April 4th. Excuse me, Guardian. The UK is set to order more drilling for oil and gas in North Sea in defiance of its own net zero targets. Yeah, this is why it's such a meme. While neglecting alternative measures that experts say could provide much more quicker relief from high energy bills and reduce greenhouse gas emissions instead of raising them. The energy security strategy to be unveiled on Thursday will acknowledge the need to move away from fossil fuels, but still allow for... What? But still allow for license to explore new oil and gas fields to be expedited and more production from existing North Sea fields. So we're saying one thing. We're acknowledging, we understand the need. We understand the need to move away from fossil fuels, but no. No. Ministers are expected to say the UK needs more oil and gas in the short term, new sources, including new source of fossil fuel imports to replace a small portion of UK oil and gas that comes from Russia and ease pressure on prices. Well, the problem with prices is that it's dependent on fossil fuels. Like this is ridiculous. If your nation is dependent on something that could be replaced with something renewable, then just do that. I don't understand. They'll justify it by pointing to the massive energy cost that's happening at the moment, but that's not related to this. Right, the problem is the fossil fuels. The problem is the dependency on fossil fuels. And it's like, look, I know, listen, I know that, I know there's a fire happening, but, listen, if we put more gasoline on the fire, eventually we'll just smother it out, right? I mean, we just gotta keep pouring gasoline into the fire. It'll fix it. And the more gasoline we put, eventually, if we put just enough, it'll smother the fire and put it out. That's literally what's happening. Local councillors recently had a trip abroad that cost taxpayers $100K to, quote, get more business investment. Yeah, okay, buddy. Sure. The government will present North Sea oil and gas as lower carbon than imported gas. No, the best... Yet the IPCC, to meet UK's needs while ramping up renewables and nuclear power. Yet the IPCC on climate change presents an hour never warning on Monday, showing that new fossil fuel exploration will put the Paris Agreement target of limiting global heating to 1.5 beyond reach. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just a meme. You're not going to get there. There's no real legitimate policy proposals that have been done to move in this direction. Like, the business secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, who will present the energy strategy, is strongly in favor of ramping up renewables over oil and gas, but under pressure from Tory right-wingers, the government is set to offer a heavy emphasis on gas, with few measures on insulation or switching to heat pumps. Yeah. The point being is that even after there has been numerous calls to decouple ourselves from fossil fuels, the policies that governments are presenting aren't just manifesting themselves, not in any capacity necessary to deal with this. Ultra Peaks. Thank you for the follow, I appreciate that. The TLDR is that at this point in time, we need to do everything possible to get ourselves off of fossil fuels. There's just no choice, really. In all countries, mitigation efforts embedded within the wider development context can increase the pace, depth, and breadth of emission reductions, medium confidence. Yep. Sorry, none of these current policies or lack thereof are any type of mitigation, are focusing on mitigation at all. There is no legitimate, there's no legitimate strong action for mitigation at all. I mean, I don't see anything from the Biden administration here. I don't see anything from the UK. We're going backwards. We're going backwards, all to serve a handful of oligarchs. Gotta make sure they're rich. All right, folks, we are currently on page 64 of the IPCC report's Working Group 2 technical summary. There are a range of options for water, food, and related adaptation in different social, cultural, economic, geographical contexts with benefits across several dimensions across regions, high confidence, including climate risk reduction. Frequently documented options including rainwater harvesting, soil moisture conservation, cultivar improvements, community-based adaptation, agricultural diversification, climate services, adaptive eco-management and fisheries, high confidence, roughly 25% of assessed water-related adaptation has co-benefits, while 33% reported current or future maladaptive outcomes. High confidence. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't someone earlier come in here saying that lefties don't read papers, don't read studies? There's limited evidence, medium agreement, on the institutional feasibility or cost effectiveness of adaptation activities or their limits. Integration of indigenous knowledge and local knowledge increase their effectiveness. The projected future effectiveness of available adaptation for agriculture and food systems decrease with increasing warming. High confidence. Currently known adaptation responses generally perform more effectively at 1.5 degrees Celsius than at 2 or more. I mean, yeah. With increasing risks remaining after adaptation at higher warming levels, high confidence, irrigation expansion will face increasing limits due to water availability beyond 1.5 degrees. Yeah, so like we were talking about, water scarcity. That's a teeny bit of a problem, right? I mean, you know, water and all. With a potential doubling of regional risks to irrigation water availability between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius, medium confidence, negative risks even with adaptation will become greater beyond 2 degrees warming in an increasing number of regions, high confidence. Ecosystem-based approaches, agroecology, and other nature-based solutions in agriculture and fisheries have the potential to strengthen resilience to climate change with multiple co-benefits, high confidence. Trade-offs and benefits vary with socio-ecological context. Options such as ecosystem approaches to fisheries, agriculture diversification, agroforestry, and other ecological practices support long-term productivity and ecosystem services such as pest control, soil health, pollination, and buffering of temperature extremes, high confidence. But potential and trade-offs vary by socioeconomic context, ecosystem zones, species combinations, and institutional support. Medium confidence. Ecosystem-based approach support food security, nutrition, and livelihoods when inclusive, equitable governance processes are used. Sustainable resource management in response to distribution shifts of terrestrial and aquatic species under climate change is an effective adaptation option to reduce food and nutritional risk, conflict and loss of livelihood. Yep. True. Adaptation options exist to reduce vulnerability of fisheries through better management, governance, and socioeconomic dimensions. Medium confidence to eliminate overexploitation and pollution. High confidence. Indigenous knowledge and local knowledge can facilitate adaptation in small-scale fisheries, especially when combined with scientific knowledge and utilized in management regimes. Medium confidence. Adaptive transboundary governance and ecosystem-based management, livelihood diversification, capacity development, and improved knowledge sharing will reduce conflict and promote fair distribution of sustainably harvested wild products and revenues. Medium confidence. Adaptation options that promote intensification of production, have been widely adopted in agriculture for climate change adaptation, but with potential negative effects. High confidence. Agriculture intensification addresses short-term food security and livelihood goals, but has trade-offs in equity, biodiversity, and ecosystems. Irrigation is widely used and effective for yield stability, but with several negative outcomes, including water demand. High confidence. Groundwater depletion, high confidence, alteration of local regional climates, high confidence, increasing soil salinity, medium confidence, widening inequalities and loss of rural smallholder livelihoods with weak governance, medium confidence. Conventional breeding assisted by genomics introduces traits that adapt crops to climate change, high confidence. Genetic improvements through modern biotechnology have the potential to increase climate resilience in food production systems, high confidence, but with biophysical ceilings and technical agro-ecosystem, socioeconomic and political variables strong influence and limit uptake of climate-resilient crops, particularly for smallholders, medium confidence. Yeah, we can't just, consistently put all our bets on, we'll just, make up these, heat-resistant corn or something, I don't know. Well, it is important. I assume that it's going to play some sort of role. The reality is, it's reducing emissions. Integrated, part of it anyway. The big factor here is to reduce emissions. Integrated and systems-oriented solutions to alleviate competition and trade-offs between mitigation and adaptation will reinforce long-term resilience and equity in water and food systems, high confidence, large-scale land deals for climate mitigation, and have trade-offs with livelihoods, water, and food security. High confidence, afforestation programs without adequate safeguards adversely affect indigenous peoples' rights, land tenure, and adaptive capacity, high confidence. Some mitigation measures such as carbon capture and storage, bioenergy, and afforestation have high water footprints, high confidence. Increased demand for aquaculture and animal and marine foods and energy products will intensify competition and potential conflict over land and water resources, particularly in low and medium income countries. High confidence, with negative impacts on food security and deforestation. Medium confidence, integrated systems-oriented solutions reduce competition and trade-offs and include inclusive governance, behavioral, example, healthier diets with low carbon and water footprints, and technical novel feeds responses. High confidence. Integrated multi-sectoral strategies to address social inequities, example, gender and ethnicity, social protection for low-income groups will increase effectiveness of adaptation response for water and food security. High confidence. Multiple interacting factors to help ensure that adaptive communities have water and food security, including addressing poverty, social inequities, violent conflict, provision of social services such as water and sanitation, social safety nets, and vital ecosystem services, differentiated responses based on water, food security level, and climate risk increase effectiveness such as social protection programs for extreme events, medium-term responses such as local food procurement for school meals, community seed banks, or well construction to build adaptive capacity, medium confidence. Longer-term responses include strengthening ecosystem services, local and regional markets, enhanced capacity, and reducing systemic gender, land tenure, and other social inequalities as part of a rights-based approach. Medium confidence. In the urban context, policies that account for social inclusion and governance and rights to green urban spaces will enhance urban agriculture's potential for food and water security and other ecosystems. Yeah, well, if that's presupposing that there's any political will to even address that. Supportive public policies for transition to resilient water and food systems enhance effectiveness and feasibility in ecosystem provisioning services, livelihoods, water and food security, medium confidence. Collective efforts across sectors with the involvement of food producers, water users, and including indigenous knowledge and local knowledge are a precondition to reach sustainable water and food systems, high confidence. Policies that support system transitions including shifting subsidies, certification, green public procurement, capacity building, payments for ecosystem services, and social protection, medium confidence. These sounds like policy prescriptions, but that's far and away from being materialized. It's far and away from being materialized. Cities and settlements are crucial for delivering urgent climate action. The concentration and interconnection of people, infrastructure, and assets within and across cities into rural area drives the creation of risk and solutions at a global scale. High confidence. Concentrated inequalities and risk are broken through prioritizing affordable housing and upgrading of informal and precarious settlements, paying special attention to including marginalized groups and women. High confidence. Such actions are most effective when deployed across gray physical infrastructure, nature-based solutions, and social policy, and between local, city, and nationwide actions. Medium confidence. City and local governments remain key actors facilitating climate change adaptation. In cities and settlements, community-based action is also critical. Multi-level governance opens inclusive and accountable adaptation spaces across scales of decision-making, improving development process through an understanding of socio-economic systems, planning, experimentation, and embedded solutions, including processes of social learning. Continued rapid growth in urban populations and unmet needs for healthy, decent, affordable, and sustainable housing and infrastructure are a global opportunity to integrate inclusive adaptation strategies into development. High confidence. Urban adaptation gap. The urban adaptation gap shows that for all world regions, current adaptation is unable to resolve risks to current climate change-associated hazards. Moreover, an additional 2.5 billion people are projected to be living in urban areas by 2050, with up to 90% of this increase concentrated in regions of Asia and Africa. High confidence. Retrofitting, upgrading, and redesigning existing urban places and infrastructure combined with planning and design for new urban infrastructure can utilize existing knowledge on social policy, nature-based solutions, and gray physical infrastructure to build inclusive processes of adaptation into everyday urban planning and development. I mean, yeah, true, but the problem is there's no real governmental policy or governmental will, political will, to make any of this happen. Even here in the infrastructure bills that we passed, there was not a lot of that in there. Nothing regarding retrofitting infrastructure. Nothing regarding redesigning or updating any infrastructure in the manner that it would be more resilient for climate change. Nothing of that nature. The best we got was repair some bridges. I mean, again, it is necessary. That's no doubt about it. But yeah, repair some bridges, roads, and maybe throw some broadband out there. Call it a day. Diverse adaptation response to current and near-term climate impacts are already underway in many cities and settlements in different world regions. Very high confidence. These responses range from hard engineering interventions through nature-based solutions, social policy and social safety nets to disaster management and capacity building, raising or relocation of settlements and combination of such measures sequenced over time. While many more cities have developed adaptation plans since AR5, few of these plans have been implemented, and of these, fewer still are being in production with diverse and marginalized urban communities. Yeah. So nothing of any serious capacity is manifesting itself. Medium confidence. Globally, urban adaptation gaps exist for all climate change-driven risks, although the limits to adaptation are unevenly distributed. Medium confidence. Governance capacity, financial support, and the legacy of past urban infrastructure investment constrain how cities and settlements can adapt to key climate risks. Medium confidence. The gap between what can be adapted to and what has been adapted to is uneven. It is larger for the poorest 20% of populations than for the 20% than for the wealthiest 20% populations. The adaptation gap is also geographically uneven. It is highest in Africa. Medium confidence. Limits to adaptation are often most pronounced in rapidly growing urban areas and smaller settlements, including those without dedicated local governments. At the same time, legacy infrastructure in large and megacities designed without taking climate risk into account and past adaptation decisions constrains innovation, leading to stranded assets with increasing number of people unable to avoid harm, including heat stress, flooding, and without transformative adaptation. Medium confidence. Yeah, all these things will continue to get worse. The longer this goes. The greatest gap between policy and action are for projects to integrate justice concerns over adaptation action, address complex interconnected risk where solutions lie outside as well as within the city, for example, food, energy, water, health nexus, and resolve compound risks, such as relationship to air quality and climate risk, medium confidence. The most critical capacity gaps at city and community levels that hinder adaptation include ability to identify social vulnerability and community strengths, to plan to integrate ways to protect communities alongside the ability to access innovative funding arrangements and manage finance and commercial insurance, and locally accountable decision-making with sufficient access to science, technology, and local knowledge to support application of adaptation at scale. I mean, like, the problem we're having here is, like, these folks know. I mean, they have to know. Well, at least here. It's not like our governments don't know what's exactly happening here, right? They have a hand in the final wording of this IPCC report. And in order for them to have a hand in what ends up being in the final report, they must have seen it. They must have seen it. And yet still chose to make a conscious decision to downplay the language. Oh, send it to me, casual call out. Send it to me. Good morning, by the way. Howdy. Yeah, so these are conscious decisions that are being done. Not because there's no, not because there's no, like, knowledge of this, at least here. I mean, how could they not? We've got the U.S. government and, the world governments that are participating in this, having a hand in the final language of this, and have often chosen softer language than what the actual scientists originally put. And this is a conscious decision. Oh, this is fascinating. I think this is relevant here. All right, folks, we're going to take a tiny detour because it is relevant. It is relevant to what we were talking about. So much potential? Absolutely. Architects and developers behind some of Canada's new Indigenous-focused projects are designing spaces that harmonize with their natural landscape, setting a higher standard for how urban buildings impact the environment and their surrounding communities. There are vast opportunities for non-Indigenous business leaders to partner with Indigenous-owned businesses to create spaces that articulate Indigenous values into planning and design phases, such as the Urban Land Institute event in as an Urban Land Institute event in February showcased. Yet there remains a resistance to partner despite Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in the building the country together said moderator Tim Caldwell, president of Candos Construction. Two-row architect founder Brian Porter relates this to factors such as Canada's preference for a resource-based economy through export of natural materials. They are brought back and value-added products from our international trade partners. This is counterintuitive to Indigenous values. We need to become a nation that adds value to the resources we extract and reap the benefits of the job that come along with it. Look at that. Doesn't that look super cool? Doesn't that look super cool? Look at that. That's futuristic. It looks stunning, yeah. Can you imagine? Who'd have thought bureaucracy, selfishness, and greed? Yeah, all of these things hold up such fantastic projects. True. Yet there remains a resist. Oh yes. Okay, they're brought back. Legal challenges also impact business deals, with Canada's reluctance to honor signed treaties. I don't think these hurdles will be resolved in my lifetime, but one way forward may to have less formal consultations between opposing sides. Instead, let's have more business conversations around the table. There are 5 significant development partnerships with Indigenous stakeholders that are creating turning points in Canadian cities. The Toronto Public Library Dawes Road branch is a vision from Smoke Architecture and Perkins and Will, built in 1976. It will be redeveloped into a city-operated community hub on the corner of Chapman Avenue and Dawes Road, and rooted in Anishinaabe. Oh man, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. Haudenosaunee and Huron-Wendat culture. Integrated public spaces are inspired by the movement of water. Nice. The roof garden makes space for a sacred fire, and interiors gesture to the Haudenosaunee longhouse. On the 3rd level, a roundhouse based on an Anishinaabe architectural typology, and traditionally a place to gather and share knowledge for a community. For the community is a circle space in the heart of the building that is rooted to the earth, defining the central bay of the longhouse, the place of the clan mother. Wow. Haudenosaunee. There we go. Haudenosaunee. But that's not a big deal. You're 100% doing great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying my best here. The exterior is wrapped with a star blanket, symbolizing the unity between the social development, finance, and administration coming together with the community hub. It will operate in the Toronto Public Library. The star symbolizes the presence and attention and support of the community, which comes together as a patchwork for multiple unique individuals, but also represents their ancestors, which are recorded in the stars. Nice! Eladia Smoke, principal architect and owner of Smoke Architecture. A view from the east opens the blanket to the community, displaying the roundhouse prominently. She said, "We heard from our participants that it was critical to have a safe place for Indigenous knowledge and sharing in an urban location." Nice. Look at that. Look at these concepts. Now that is awesome. This is exactly what we were just discussing. That's exactly what we were just discussing regarding the application of Indigenous knowledge and local knowledge integrated and being a part of planning and land use. This is exactly the potential Vancouver's Three Nations, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh have regained ownership of traditional territory for future generations through the MST Development Corporation. They bought the 92-acre Jericho lands, partially co-owned with the Canada Lands Company, located in Vancouver's West Point Grey neighborhood. Dennis Thomas, Senior Business Development Manager for the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, said they're collaborating with Vancouver, in turn helping to build their indigenous economy and ecosystems with easing the city's affordable housing crisis. Nice. You didn't call it fantasy, obviously, but opponents to green energy always do. Yeah, I mean, like, this isn't impossible. Yeah, blueprints and engineering. I mean, it's right here. And it's not like we don't have the ability to do this. I'm pretty sure if we could manifest this into reality, this is a real building. This is a real building. Yeah, just send it to me, casual callouts. Design concepts released last fall proposed 10 million square feet for new development, 20 acres of new parkland, and enough housing for 15 to 18,000 people, 20% of social housing, and 10% market rental, with proportion of below market rental. Nice. As cultural liaisons, the nations brought artistic graphic illustrators into their community to conceptualize the needs and visions of elders and knowledge holders. They identified core themes: wind, water, fire, and the transfer of knowledge. Putting an elder center next to the daycare so that the elders can get energy from the kids that was so important to our people growing up. In the rendering of 3 prominent, quote, sentinel buildings represent each First Nations, viewable from all directions. Lines in topography of the proposal symbolize the coast Salish weaving style of cedar bark. The plan weaves networks of movement and social space, creating smaller neighborhood nodes so that people can interconnect. The idea is that property is stronger. The idea is that the property is stronger together when it is woven. Cool. Yeah, just always send it to me via whispers. Always send it to me via whispers. Nice, look at that. Oh, it's all good. Nice. That is so cool. It is hopium, but a good hopium. I'll post it in chat so people can take a look at what's possible. Nice. These concepts are truly breathtaking. This could be what we could be doing right now. And this is the article. Nice. Yep, we were just talking about that right here. As ecosystems provide important additional benefits to human well-being and coastal livelihoods, urban adaptation strategies can be developed for settlements and nearby ecosystems. Combining these with engineering solutions can extend their lifetime under high rates of sea level rise, medium confidence in Central and South America. The adoption of nature-based solutions and hybrid green-gray infrastructure are still emerging. Right. Monitoring and evaluation frameworks that incorporate questions of justice, ecological health, and multi-sector considerations can help move away from more narrow, static indicator-based approaches to adaptation. High confidence. All right, folks, we got to take a second here. We got to take a second here to do a quick shill sesh. Folks, if you have a moment, please consider checking out our this month's sponsor, which is almost about to end. HelloFresh, which is brought to us by Stream Elements. I appreciate that. Folks, if you click the link, if you click !HelloFresh and use code POGSE2534 to get up to 16 free meals, 3 surprise gifts across 6 HelloFresh boxes, plus 3 free shipping on the first box. We've used HelloFresh before, and we've had a positive experience with them. So that's one of the reasons why I took that sponsorship. You get all your recipes, and after you're done, you can do what I did. Check it out here. It's not something that you need to keep forever. But, hey, after you're done, just do what I did and keep all... some of these may be maybe a little bit redundant, but for the most part, these are all the recipes we've got. I could probably make a cookbook out of this. We used HelloFresh probably for over, I would say, over a year. Definitely. So we absolutely have all of these collection of recipes should we decide to use them at any point. We could probably make a little cookbook out of them, and you get to support the channel as well. So make sure you hit !HelloFresh. If you're on the YouTubes, check the link in the description and consider supporting the channel. All right, let's move this out of the way, yeah? Casual callouts, 500 biddies. Thank you so much. Jeez. Ooh. Thank you so much. That's very generous. Key innovations to adaptation and social policy and nature-based solutions have not been matched by innovation and adaptation finance, which tends to favor established mechanisms often led by gray physical infrastructure at national scale. Social policy innovations include social safety nets, inclusive approaches to disaster risk reduction, and the integration of climate adaptation into education. True. Nature-based solutions include green and blue infrastructure in and around cities, including hinterlands that increase water access, reduce hazards for cities and settlements, for example, reforestation of hill slope and coastal areas. In Europe, many urban innovations are pilot-tested, but their upscaling remains challenging. Where inclusive approaches to adaptation policy and action are supported, this can enable wider gains and more equitable urbanization, medium confidence. Many urban adaptation plans focus narrowly on climate risk reduction and specific climate-associated risks, missing opportunities to advance co-benefits with climate mitigation and sustainable development. High confidence. This narrow approach limits opportunity for urban and infrastructure adaptation to tackle root causes of inequality and exclusion, especially among marginalized groups, including women. Our urban adaptation measures have many opportunities to contribute to climate-resilient development pathways. Medium confidence. They can enhance social capital, livelihoods, human and ecological wealth, as well as contributing to low-carbon futures. Urban planning, social policy, and nature-based solutions bring great flexibility with co-benefits for climate mitigation and sustainable development. Participatory planning for infrastructure provision and risk management in informal, precarious, and underserviced neighborhoods. The inclusion of indigenous knowledge and local knowledge and communication and efforts to build local leadership, especially amongst women and youth, are examples of inclusive approaches with co-benefits of equity. Right. I mean, like, that's literally what we just went over, right? The concept of using indigenous and local knowledge in our upgrading or new way of thinking about infrastructure, buildings, urban planning, whatever you want to call it. All of these things are a part of that, and that's what could result from incorporating indigenous and local knowledge, right? I mean, we all saw the pictures of the blueprints. Targeted development planning across the range of innovation and investment in social policy, nature-based solutions, and gray physical infrastructure can significantly increase the adaptive capacity of urban settlements and cities and their contribution to climate resilience development. High confidence. City and infrastructure planning approaches that integrate adaptation into everyday decision-making are supported by the 2030 Agenda, the Paris Agreement, Sustainable Development Goals, and New Urban Agenda, and Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. The 2030 Agenda provides a global framework for city and community-level action to align nationally determined contributions, national adaptation plans, and sustainable development goals. City and local action can complement and oftentimes go further than national and international interventions. High confidence. True. True. Adaptation policy that focus on informality, subserviced, or inadequately serviced neighborhoods and support inclusive urbanization by considering the social-economic root cause of unequal vulnerability and exposure can contribute to the broader goals of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda and reduce vulnerability to non-climate risk, including pandemic risks. High confidence. More comprehensive and clearly articulated global ambitions for city and community adaptations will contribute to inclusive urbanization by addressing the root cause of socioeconomic inequalities that drive social exclusion and marginalization so that adaptation can directly support the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. High confidence. The abilities of societies and ecosystems to adapt to current coastal impacts to address present and future coastal risks under further acceleration of sea level rise depend on immediate and effective mitigation and adaptation actions that keep options open to further adapt. High confidence. Adaptation pathways break adaptation planning into manageable steps based on near-term low-regret actions and aligning adaptation choices with societal goals that account for changing risk, interests, and values, uncertain futures, and long-term adaptation commitment to sea level rise. High confidence. In charting adaptation pathways, reconciling divergent interests and values is a priority. High confidence. As the scale and pace of sea level rise accelerates beyond 2050, long-term adjustments may in some locations be beyond limits of current adaptation options. Jesus. That's not good. And for some species in some locations could be an existential risk within the 21st century. Medium confidence. Nature-based interventions, example wetlands and salt marshes, can reduce impacts and costs while supporting biodiversity and livelihoods, but have limits under high warming levels and rapid sea level rise. In other words, this would be good. This would be the approach, but if climate change accelerates past the point of their being able to sustain that, that's not good. That's not going to end up working in the long term. Yeah, it's a very flowery way of saying, we're effed. They're effed. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Great, except we won't put enough of that in place. Yeah, and just putting these in place doesn't mean we did it, right? Like, the emissions are continuing to go unencumbered. So this, in the long term, and by long term, we mean like at the end of the century, which is not really that long in the grand scheme of things. I mean, what, 78 years? That's not a lot. That's not a lot. Ecological limits and socioeconomic, financial, and governance barriers will be reached first and are determined by the type of coastline and city or settlement. Medium confidence. Accommodation can reduce impacts to people and assets, but can address only limited sea level rise. Considering the long term now will help avoid maladaptive lock-in to build capacity to act in a timely and preemptive manner and to reduce risk to ecosystems and people. And now we still have to do the mitigation part, or it gets worse and worse. Yep, pretty much. None of this is optional. Realistically speaking, in a logical world, in a logical world, this isn't optional. These things aren't optional. Considering the long term now will help avoid maladaptive lock-in to build capacity to act in a timely and preemptive manner and to reduce risk to ecosystems and people. Adaptation for coastal ecosystems requires space, networks, and sediment to keep up with sea level rise. High confidence. with higher warming, faster sea level rise, and increasing human pressures due to coastal development. Yeah. The ability to adapt decreases. Adaptation options such as providing sufficient space for the coastal system to migrate inland when combined with ambitious and urgent mitigation measures can reduce impacts, but they depend on the type of coastline and pattern of coastal development. High confidence. With rapid sea level rise, these options will become insufficient to limit risk for marine ecosystems and their services such as, food, coastal protection, and carbon sequestration, which is all massive factors here. A wide range of adaptation options exist for reducing ongoing multifaceted coastal risks in city and settlements. Very high confidence. A mix of infrastructure, nature-based, institutional, and socio-cultural interventions can best address the risk. These options include vulnerability-reducing measures, avoidance, example, disincentivizing developments in high-risk areas and addressing existing social vulnerabilities. Yeah, so for those that don't know or haven't seen what's happening in Florida, that's literally not what's happening. They continue to develop on the coasts to make these multi-million dollar bougie houses or apartment complexes that are contributing to this problem too. Hard and soft protections, example, seawalls and coastal wetlands. I'm not sold on the whole seawall thing. Accommodation, elevating houses. Advanced, example, building up and out to sea. And staged, managed retreat. Landward movement of people and development interventions, very high confidence. Yeah, so get off the coast. Implementation of coastal adaptation can be delayed by competing public and private interests. In other words, the private sector is messing this up. Trade-offs among development and conservation objectives. Legacy development, policy inconsistencies. Contradictory short and long-term objectives. Like saying how we need to reach X goal, but then enable policies that do the exact opposite. And uncertainties on the timing and scale of impacts. High confidence. Local government barriers to coastal adaptation could lead to the courts becoming de facto decision makers for local adaptation, and this can be compounded by legislative shortcomings and fragmentation, insufficient leadership, lack of coordination between governance levels, and disagreements about, quote, financial responsibility. Imagine like this is the thought process here. Oh yes, we need to really have a serious talk about like financial responsibility. Bro, none of that is going to matter when the vast majority of coastal areas are going to start becoming underwater. How about that for financial responsibility? How about the billions of dollars that get lost for every hurricane season? What about the billions of dollars that get lost every horrendous fire season, which is becoming the new norm? How about that for financial responsibility? Adaptation is costly, but the benefit to cost ratio is high for urbanized coastal areas with high concentration of assets. High confidence. Protection has a high benefit cost ratio during the 21st century, but can become unaffordable and insufficient to reduce coastal risk. Example, due to salinization, drainage of rivers, and excess water reaching technical limits. High confidence. Hard protection sets up lock-in of assets and people to risks and reaches limits by the end of the century or sooner, depending on the scenario. It seems to me more sooner than later. Hard protection sets up lock-in of assets and people to risk and reaches limits by the end of the century or sooner, depending on the scenario. Local sea level rise affects community tolerance. Local sea level rise affects and community tolerance thresholds. High confidence. Considering coastal retreat as part of solution space could lower global adaptation costs, but could result in large land losses and high levels of migration for South and Southeast Asia in particular. In relative terms, small island nations would suffer most. High confidence solutions include disincentivizing developments in high-risk areas and addressing existing social vulnerabilities now. Yeah. High confidence. Mayhem hippie, howdy howdy. How's it going? We are definitely making good progress here. Prospects for addressing climate change compounded coastal hazard risk depend on the extent to which societal choices and associated governance and practices, i.e. political will, address the drivers and root cause of exposure and social vulnerability. Very high confidence. Many drivers and root cause of coastal risk are historically and institutionally embedded. Very high confidence. When national and local authorities work with their communities, sustained risk reduction in exposure and vulnerability of those most at risk is more likely. High confidence. Drawing on multiple knowledge systems helps in co-designing and co-producing more acceptable, effective, and enduring response. Reconciling divergent worldviews, values, and interests can unlock the productive potential of conflict for transitioning towards pathways that foster climate-resilient development, generate equitable adaptation outcomes, and remove governance constraints. Shared understanding and locally appropriate responses are enabled by deliberate experimentation, innovation, and social learning. Medium confidence. External assistance and government support can enhance community capabilities to reduce coastal hazard risk. Sheesh. It's a day. Full moon or something? People acting like fools today? Well. We had a live one earlier. Unfortunately, they didn't stick around too long. Experience in coastal cities and settlement highlights critical enablers for addressing coastal hazard risk compounded by sea level rise. High confidence. These enablers include building and strengthening governance capacity and capabilities to tackle complex problems, taking a long-term perspective and making short-term decisions, enabling more effective coordination across scales, sectors, and policy domains, reducing injustice, inequity, and social vulnerability, and unlocking the productive potential of coastal conflict while strengthening local democracy. Medium evidence, high agreement, flexible options enable responses to be adjusted as climate risk escalates and circumstances change, which may increase exposure. Medium confidence, legal and financial provisions can enable managed retreat from the most at-risk locations. Medium confidence, but require coordination, trust, legitimate decisions by and across policy domains and sectors. High confidence, which prioritizes vulnerability, justice, equity. Medium confidence, inclusive, informed, and meaningful deliberation and collaborative problem solving depends on safe arenas for engagement by all stakeholders. High confidence. They must be out in force today. The other stream I was in just ended due to another troll. Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, here, trolls have, like, legitimately zero power here. Yeah, that must have been it, Mono. That must have been it. True. Alright, folks. It is coming to that time. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have today, folks. I gotta get my day started. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here today. Thank you so much for all the new follows. Thank you to the Benjamin P. Dixon Show for the massive raid. Appreciate it. Thank you, Casual Callouts, for the 500 biddies. Laters, everyone. Hey, hang tight. We're going on a raid, all right? Hang tight, everybody. I appreciate you. Mono, thank you for stopping by. I think I saw Spread It Forward earlier here today. Thank you. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the follow button on your way out. It does help us out. And don't forget, if you are on the YouTubes or have a second, hit that big red subscribe button. It does help us out. Join the Discord. Join the Discord to keep up with the channel. And once again, consider supporting this month's sponsor, HelloFresh, ! HelloFresh. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Later. Alright, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya!